Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm an idiot. I
I was like,
changed
what?
everything.
What is that?
I changed everything, man. All right, sir, special guest down below. I apologize. We're gonna kick this off the right way because I'm not gonna screw up this poorly, dude. I'm sorry. I'm just not gonna let that happen. So let's kick this off the right way, if we may. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Remix.
Folks, we have a very special guest for you tonight.
Hello, we've been expecting you.
This is not a test. Your government and corporate overlords have implemented new measures for your own health and safety. We are just following orders.
Everything is going to be fine.
I'd like to introduce
Better.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Much better. Oh my gosh, I'm having
Better.
a conniption over here. Man, I jumped on late and I was having connection issues and I jump on. I did a knocked conscious last Thursday, so I had to switch everything over. I'm like, oh, I switched it. I got the If by Whiskey up. I put the background up. Did not put the intro in. So now I have to figure out the intro outro thing. But we'll figure it out. But just little things. Welcome, Jake. Welcome to If by Whiskey. How are you, sir?
I'm doing excellent, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm actually very excited. So you and I, sir, have two more shows officially, even though we're
I'm
going to
coming
be
off
doing stuff in the future.
my victorious win last night.
Yeah, first of all, let's talk about that. How do you feeling, man? How does that feel?
No, it's fun. I mean, winning that show. Well, I was on Are You Smarter Than a Politician last night, and winning that show is less important. It's more important of obviously sharing the ideas and talking about stuff. That was more fun. Like the chat going crazy, lots of comments. David Fight and Carl are both like really smart, thoughtful guys. So honestly, just like kind of being in that room, it was like the only way it would have been better is if we were in person together with like a cigar. But no, it was super fun, and I ended up coming out with the win. So I'll take it.
That's awesome, man. Well, congratulations. It's fun. I've come in second twice and won once, so I'm still not third place, thank goodness. But you ran away with it though. That's what I was a little shocked by, because first of all, Carl's like probably the most popular in the group of us. You would probably be up there as well, just because you're known more than David's like not as interacting with us, even though David's
Sure.
obviously a brilliant person. So I thought Carl would give you a little bit. I thought it'd be a little tighter, but you ran away with it like big time, man. So congratulations on that. And it is about
Thanks.
the message for sure.
I said pulled out all the stops. I had family in the chat. I had the right hat on, the right shirt on. I came to win last night, and it worked.
It was. Now, speaking of that, I have a feeling this next gentleman, we should probably get him in touch with Free, because he would probably make an excellent guest on Are You Smarter Than a Politician? He
I
is
would
the
agree.
author of Good Neighbor, Bad Citizen. I hope I say his name correctly, because I'm going to get it right. I'm not.
Thanks,
I don't.
Derek. I appreciate it.
He'll correct me if I'm wrong, because he'll put me on the ground. Hey, I'm a Goomba over here. So I would like to welcome the Honorable Dominic Scarcella to the stage, sir. Is it Dominic Scarcella or Scarcella? Scarcella.
Scarcella is perfect. I may take issue with being called honorable.
Okay, well that's different. That's your East Coast. You're from Jersey.
You're in the right
Nothing's
place
honorable.
then.
That's like, I mean, we have to call you honorable just so you're like amongst the humans, considering you're from Jersey. So like an honorable
That's right.
Jersey person is like,
Okay.
one of us jamokes over here. So, well, welcome, Dominic. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what brings you on the show today.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation, Mark and Jake. I've in preparation for this, I've watched a few of your shows. I like the format. I like the conversation. So I'm hoping to just fit in with that. I'm here today because a mutual friend of ours in the podcasting and publishing world, Adam Heyman, introduced us to each other. So thank you to Adam for that. He does the Heyman Nature podcast as well.
Shout out to Adam.
Yeah, so a bunch of us
Adam's
who
great.
kind of hang out in the freedom advocacy space in publishing, whether it be written or podcasting, audio, video. A few of us have gotten to know each other. And so, this is great. I get to meet a couple of more folks, and I hope we have a good conversation about what is liberty, what are our natural human rights, and how are they in conflict with a lot of the stuff we see out in the world.
Oh, let's
Well,
dive
I find
in.
it interesting. I find it interesting because a lot of people in the liberty movement read a lot, write a lot. They're just not well known, right? We're kind of like
Sure.
put in the corner or whatever. And it's interesting that some of the ideas are coming, but they're also misunderstood as they're coming up. You know what I mean? Because they hear all the good fun parts about all the great things that liberty are, but they don't understand the other side of it, like the responsibility and the accountability. So I hope we can delve into some of that. So you wrote this book. Now I have not had to read it, but it is in the queue, sir. I'm a audio guy, so I have Speechify lined up. I don't know if I want Snoop Dogg to read it to me or Martha Stewart. I'm not sure who I'm going to have do it, but someone of import is definitely going to read me that book. But so you have this book, Good Neighbor, Bad Citizen. Tell us a little bit about the outline of it, and then let's delve into just the ideas and all the different topics that are going on.
Sure. Well, the book, it's a very easy read. You could see how thin the book is there as I hold it up on the screen. This was almost too thin for the online on-demand publishing platforms to even print it as a book. They're almost going to say, we're going to just put a staple down the middle like a magazine. You got to get at least 64 pages. So I managed to do it. It's called Good Neighbor, Bad Citizen. And if my video weren't, is my video mirrored for you guys?
I think it's correct. Yes, we can read it.
Great.
You can read it.
Yes.
Okay, so it's just mirrored for me as I look at myself and my thing there. Very good. So it's called Good Neighbor, Bad Citizen. And the subtitle is Reflections on the Core Social Conflict Revealed by Jesus Christ's Way of the Cross. So it's got some anarchy in there, but it's unspoken. I don't actually use the term. But it's got a lot of the Christianity and going through the persecution of Jesus as a serious study of history, like getting into the history, the culture, and the context. So even if you're not a Christian, you can follow how I lay out the history. If you are a Christian, then hopefully you're following how I lay out the conflict that's involved and how important liberty and freedom and nonviolence are if you proclaim to be a Christian. So it's the people who are leaning more towards Christianity, I'm trying to show them more of the freedom and the natural human rights and the liberty that's really at the heart of human dignity. And those who lean more towards the freedom and have more familiarity with that, I'm trying to bring them into a realness of the Christian story that sometimes gets lost in the for lack of a better term, sometimes just the cartoonishness that you see in popular Christianity and Christian culture.
Yeah, so I read a little bit in the beginning, and it made me immediately think, looking at the synopsis and everything, it's kind of like like a faith-based version of like Anatomy of the State. Like by Murray Rothbard in a weird way, right? Because it talks about, being a good neighbor means you're a bad citizen and how that conflict works. So I'd love to delve into, let's go, like, what is a good neighbor? Like, how would you define a good neighbor to start? And then we can go with what a good citizen would be, and then how they conflict and how they would contradict each other. And Jake, jump in here anytime you think of stuff, because I'm just open to this concept. I love it. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I like it too. And I want to see the way it ties together, because when I think liberty and when I think freedom, the way that it ties historically apparently with Jesus, I don't automatically go there. I'm not a religious person at all, but I'm curious to see where this goes, but I'm fascinated. Like those two, it's not that those two things can't coexist. I don't mean it that way. I just don't automatically go to that. So the floor is yours, Dominic. I want to hear.
You're not alone, Jake. It's really since the era of Christendom, which is when people professing to be Christian got very much involved in politics, starting, of course, in the Mediterranean area and in Europe, maybe around 1700 years ago. There's been so much overlap between dominant politics and the language of Christianity, that your honest assessment there is frankly what gets seen by most people, including by most contemporary Christians, is they don't see a conflict, especially in the West, between being a Christian and being pro-government and being in favor of these power structures that simply seem exist to impose on people. So
yeah, you mean being a statist? The difference between being a statist
Yes.
and being it's literally what it is. And there is this direct conflict between these two things. And
I think there
you know,
is.
we come from Law and Order to everything else. There's so many different ways to address it. So,
Do you mind if I read a little from the book?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, please do.
Share some of it with us.
Okay.
And first of all, before we continue, Dominic, if I may, we're just blessed to have people showing up here. We've got Derek back in the thing. Look at the hair. He likes the haircut about it. Where's he talking about? Jake's haircut. There you go. Little haircut for Jake. We've also got Richie, obviously your friend Richie Rich, and we've got William in there. So thank you everyone for joining us. And I will let you to it, sir. Please share your.
All right. And if anybody in the live stream has questions or comments for me, bring them on, pepper me with them. I like it. I like as much as you guys will permit onto your show here. But the first page of my book, well, after you get through the table of contents and everything, it's basically set up so it could be a devotional if you were really into the spirituality. But if you're not, the order, the chronology of it, and the ordering of it in sequence is laid out so it can make sense to you as well. And the introduction, the second paragraph says, Jesus preaches and models what it means to be a good neighbor. He's also frequently considered a bad citizen. There is no escaping this tension. Being a good neighbor requires a different mindset and value system than being a good citizen. They often conflict. And then I go through a litany of about 5 compare and contrast between the neighbor mindset and the citizen mindset, and how they're just not compatible when you drill down on them. Do you want me to go through those?
Yeah, let's talk about each of those and we'll just break them down, because that would be perfect way to go through this.
Good neighbors treat each other as peers. Good citizens treat each other according to official status. Good neighbors seek the personal, intimate betterment.
Do we want to break these down one at a time, kind of just
sure, go for it.
Jake, do you have any thoughts about that first one?
Peers. Good citizens treat each other according to official status. That's just so many people are used to, what's my place in society?
For example, like versus like, hey, Joe, you're Joe. Oh, you're just a plumber, Joe, and I'm a doctor, and I'm a lawyer, and I'm a pilot or something. You know what I mean? Like it's our identity. We identify ourselves with status and whatever our place in that world, like middle class.
Yeah, it's like
middle class.
There's a hierarchy of the citizenry versus your neighborhood. Everybody's on the same page, kind of pulling for each other, trying to look out for each other, where there's not really a hierarchy. Now, I would say that in my neighborhood, there's a few cops, so there's a hierarchy here too, but I follow you.
Sure, and that's why it's more of a mindset and not like a proximity thing. So yes, very much so.
All right.
I would also, there's going to be a term I use a few times in the book called imposed hierarchical social order. And the big problem there is the imposed part, because as people, we make hierarchies all the time. Our priorities are hierarchies. We each have them. To have subjective values means that you have hierarchies in your mind. Healthy competition produces hierarchies. That's what it's intended for, to see who has the better idea, who's better at executing it. So these are all things that naturally happen in the world. The problem becomes when you find the things that you're good at and then put other people down because of it. And the even bigger problem becomes when you have these imposed hierarchies where you think your place in the world gives you special rights to harm other people or threaten to harm them, which is all that a government is. That's all it is at its core. And so people who are concerned about being good citizens are concerned about getting permission for the things they do. Am I allowed to do that? Are you allowed to do that? They celebrate the fact that they've been licensed for a job rather than asking, why would I need a license to be a hairdresser at all?
Well, I mean, if I'm a good neighbor, I've earned that status by being a good neighbor.
Hopefully,
When
yeah.
you're being a good citizen, you actually don't want to be sticking out. So you will go with whatever is going. So you're not
Yeah.
the one being attacked. So
Yeah.
it's, you could stick out in the neighborhood. You could be the guy everyone goes to for your brakes or something with your car, something, right?
Mm.
But that's because they've earned that status through
Yes.
like a combined, it's consent. It's actually informed consent. Here, it's not informed consent. It's, imposed, to your point. It's like a compelled speech. Forcing you to say something is as bad as not allowing you to say something as well.
Sure. There's the right to do and the right to not do. Our natural human rights basically give us two options. We can use or we can withhold use. And if you're missing either one of those, then you're not really free to act and free to behave. And hopefully it's
so there's a question in the chat. It's pretty heavy.
It's
Jake,
heavy?
it's with Rich. Do you want to take a look at that and see if we want to talk about that now, or if we want to table that for a little bit?
Yeah,
And sorry what's going on.
I
with
do
that,
want to
Rich.
cover
Let's
it. I
talk
was just
about
trying
it.
to think of the right time to bring it up because it's not necessarily on the topic, but it also is in the same, pardon the pun, it's in the same neighborhood as what we're discussing.
Dominic, if I may, are you Catholic, Christian? How would you consider yourself? A faith, just a person with faith?
I'm a practicing Catholic, yes.
Okay, okay. So let's pull it up now. I mean, that's probably the best time. Might as well address it because Rich is here. So go ahead.
This is from my buddy Rich. He's got a question for you. He says, as far as Christianity, what are the consequences of suicide? Because he lost a son to suicide, and that's his conflicts with religion and God, or the fact that his son was born into cystic fibrosis, and then when he became an adult, and then COVID hit, of course, which messed with a lot of people talking about citizenry and hierarchy. And that really weighed on him a lot. And I remember when this happened, Rich is a real close friend of mine. My heart just went out to him, and there was no way to, I'll sidebar real quick before Dominic answers. Man to man, at least in the generation I come from, like, I can give him a hug, I can tell him I love him, but there's nothing I can do for him that's kind of his journey or his process to put that on his shoulders and deal with that and process it the way that he does and come out the other side. As a friend or a brother, I'm there for him if he chooses to talk, but I feel like men have it a little bit different than women do in those types of situations where there's a little bit less consoling that we can do and more just being available for strength. But I digress, but I'm curious because truthfully, without getting into our personal beliefs, those are my issues as well when it comes to, or one of my issues when it comes to the thought of God, or, and it's the, how could God let all this suffering happen? I know it's an age-old question. I've just truly never heard a great answer to it other than God's will, and we don't understand his intentions. And that's never been, sufficient for me. But if you want to get into the theology a little bit, Dominic, I'll shut up, but I'd love to let you run with this.
Sure, I'll do my best, and I will not give you the answer. It's God's will, and you should just shut up about it. So I'm not going to do that one either.
Peace be with you, Father. Also, thank you.
Do you want to go back to the specific question that your friend brought up in the chat?
Yeah, I think it's about how is suicide considered, I would assume.
Okay.
I guess the last part of it is reason as growing up heard it's all fire and brimstone, I guess. Is that what happened? He took his own life, Rich. I apologize that I'm not aware.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jake, okay. So basically, how is suicide perceived by the Catholic Church at this time? It's gone through changes. Obviously, Galileo was absolved after they beheaded him. So, things have changed over time. So curious how that's wrestled with, especially in today's world where the more we introspect, the higher the suicide rate tends to be because we start really getting inside our own heads and picking.
Okay, so if we want to trace a little bit of both the theology and a little bit of the history, and first of all, Rich, my heart goes out to you. That's a very difficult situation to be in, obviously. Suicide, of course, is wrong because killing is wrong. So, if you killed someone else, that would be wrong, and you should have the same respect for yourself and not harm yourself. So, Christianity teaches consistently that self-harm is bad too. You shouldn't be doing things to yourself that are harmful. You should love yourself enough to respect who you are as a person. So yes, I mean, obviously suicide is bad. Historically, the early church was especially against suicide because suicide was considered honorable back in the Mediterranean area. Suicide was one way that you, if you were convicted of something or charged with a terrible offense, if you committed suicide, then your family was somehow protected and your property was protected. It was almost like,
did Socrates not kill himself? Did Socrates not drink poison, right?
Even back to the Greeks. Yes, Socrates takes the
falling on your sword. These things were honorable traditions back in the day.
These were considered honorable traditions, and so the church is trying to say, well, now wait a minute. If we're not supposed to kill other people, which back then is a radical thing to say, what, you're not supposed to just overrun people who are different than you and conquer them and kill them if you have to, you should also have that same respect for yourself. Over the years, there's been a question of, well, if you murder someone else, that's a serious offense, and you'd have to make good on that under normal circumstances. You'd have to be sorry for that and try your best to make up for it. If you kill yourself, then the question becomes, well, how do you make up for it then? You've killed the person who could have.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to atone for the thing when you're not there to atone for it. Yeah.
So where the church is settled, and especially the Catholic Church is settled, and other denominations, Christianity as well, I think is a good return to the early church and the notion of mercy, which is the whole short 5th chapter of my book is about the to admire someone is to love them for the great things they do, but to show mercy is to love people in their imperfections. So without justifying the really distorted and corrupt views that would honor and exalt suicide or honor killings that we see in the world in other cultures, without supporting any of that, the church also, and drawing on the early church and drawing on Jesus, has great compassion for those who feel so badly about their own lives that they would go to those extents. As far as the fire and brimstone part of it, the church will not say that any particular person is in hell, because that's not anyone's knowledge and that's not anyone's decision.
It's God's judgment ultimately is what you're saying?
Yes. And it's also because if you declare that people are in hell, then what you're saying is, I know exactly what happened in that person's mind and heart and will. And I know that whatever they did, the mercy of the transcendent was not enough for them. And that's a rough thing to say, because you don't know that. And you're also placing a limit on the mercies of God that you might need yourself. We all do.
Yeah. It's kind of the splinter log thing, right?
Yes, right. Referencing a teaching Jesus had in the Gospels where he said, don't say to your brother, I will remove the splinter from your eye while you have a big plank stuck in your own eye. You're going to need some help as well. So we're all going to need help. So as far as suicide goes, I would say, Rich, pray for your son. If his soul isn't ready yet for heaven, your prayers can help. And if he is in heaven, then the peace you are seeking on his behalf comes back to you.
I would also, and thanks for adding that, Dominic. I know that means a lot to Rich. Just he and I are really close. But my back to what you said about the sympathy in that situation, like that's always kind of been my issue as well. Is I've been told I was raised very non-denominational Christian, but I was raised in the church, went very frequently and felt pretty familiar with the Bible and the teachings. So Never claimed to be a scholar, never claimed to be an expert, but I was not a casual believer at the time. So what I would say is, for somebody that is going through that kind of agony where they feel like that's the only way out, I've always been told that God knows your heart, and no matter what you do, no matter what you say, it's the intention behind it, or God knows your heart. So if you're in a situation where you feel like there's no other way out, and you are communicating or crying out to God, and you feel like you have that connection, and in your despair, you're essentially, repenting while you are doing that, taking that action. And for me, if it comes down to a semantic of, well, once they end their life, they're not able to make a final kind of confession, that's the part to me that seems a little bit more what's the right word, procedural, than it does somebody who's in that situation and agonizing and making that reluctant decision, and as it happens they're feeling repentant for what they're doing. That to me would seem like that would be as much of a confession as well, or a repentance. But
it can
again,
be.
I
It's
don't
almost
mean
like
to get
letter of a
semantic.
law and verse intent of the law, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Letter and spirit.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not God's will to have suicide exist. In this case, the intent. You've got extreme suffering from an individual who just can't, feel, can't go further. So, Rich, first of all, thank you for sharing your heart. I have a personal suicide story. I'm still on the fence. We talk. I don't know, Dominic, if you know who Andrew Wilson is, or like Dave Smith. They had a debate, and Jake and I were going to break down the debate about the more like objective morality. And it's funny because, like, I've lost someone to suicide, but I wouldn't want someone to intervene. I would just want to tell them, I need to share to them how much I love them, how much they would miss. They need to want to be here. I'm sorry.
Yes.
They need to want to be here. I'm almost extremely anarchist in that way, where I wouldn't even want the state to intervene in a mental way, just because I feel that we've done the extent of showing how much love we would have for them, and they just can't feel it, I guess, or they're incapable, possibly.
And that's a very
Or
neighborly attitude to have toward. And Jake, you said the same thing, that as maybe men tend more to this than women, is we're there for each other, but at the same time, you can't live somebody's life for them.
Yeah.
You can't have someone's morality for them. You can't practice someo's faith for them on their behalf. So
And
none
you
of these
can't-
things can be.
you can't take their
impose
burden.
yours on them.
Yeah, you
To
can't
your
take
point,
someone's
Jake, you can't
burden.
take the burden. Yeah.
Yeah, you can help, but you can't do it for them.
Yep.
You could show someone how to make a sandwich, but if you start eating the sandwich, then it's not their sandwich, it's your sandwich. It's you can't, and you certainly can't do it by imposing on the person, like imposing your own. You can give a good example to somebody, but you can't impose your experience of the world onto somebody else, because that's just not how experience works.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's ultimate tyranny. It's you're living in someone else's life through. It's not this. It's you're responsible. You're accountable here, and then you are good to interact with others. And as long as you stay within the accepted realm of the people with whom you associate, because you have a freedom of association, then we're good. Once we get out of line, then we make corrective actions, or we correct it ourselves. Right? I mean,
Yes.
It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty simple. So you had the first point. What's the second point of the 5 that you had there, Dominic? If we
Sure.
may, let's
Good
continue
neighbors seek the personal, intimate betterment of themselves and each other. Good citizens seek the external validation of an impersonal system. And so I'll toss that out to you. What does that mean?
Yeah, this is how it means to me. It just made me think immediately of Katrina. And it made me think immediately like snowstorms in Colorado. So you hear about these snowstorms in Colorado, and all the neighbors are digging each other out, or in North Carolina with the flooding, where they built their own freaking road. They're like, screw you guys, we're going to build our own freaking road. We'll get there, right? And then you got the people waiting at the Superdome, waiting for the government to save them.
Yeah.
Those are the two dialectics that I see in this instance, right? You've got good neighbors, and these obviously you see it in an urban area. People are less connected directly to each other, so there's more of that waiting for an external force, right? Internally, when you're urban and when you know your neighbor's name and you work together, you tend to collaborate when a problem arises. So that's kind of how I thought of that when you said that initially.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Jake?
That's a good way to view it as well. They so many things in life are an external validation problem. Social media is an external validation problem for a lot of people. They're chasing just the reactions from other people in the world, people they don't even know. They're just chasing that kind of reaction. So
that seems like an issue with the value system, don't you think? With their value system.
Absolutely. That's why this is a clash of values. Neighbor citizen is a clash of a value system. It's a clash of the deep meaning that you find in the world and how you apply it to how you live. So yes, it is absolutely a clash of values. And that's why I say that there are a lot of Christians who grow up in Christian culture that tries to massage this difference until it goes completely away. And I'm trying to tell people, okay, you can attempt that, but I don't think it's a really honest reading of either set of values. Like, be honest about what the values of citizenship are, and be honest about what the values of true Christian neighborliness really are. But people want to avoid that conflict.
Before I forget, there's also, if I may, I'd also when I first came across your book, or when you shared it with me, when we connected through Adam. Thanks again, Adam, of course. There's a book called Ordinary Men, and it's about 30-year-old people who are already past their ideological shift, who were just normal police officers and whatever in the German army, who ended up doing some horrific things, and they're just going along kind of like I was just doing my job kind of thing, but how it was slowly getting worse and worse, and how they just allowed themselves. And yes, we give people grace because they don't know when they're in it, right? The fish doesn't know they're in the water, but we have to know these concepts so that we're aware, so we don't become that thing, right? So yes. I thought about that a lot.
Yes, permission-based societies are exactly that. They're external validation. I do this because somebody in the social order told me it's okay. Oh, that person says it's not okay. I guess I can't do it. Now it's wrong. It's a difference between whether something is legal and something is moral. That's another distinction that people sometimes try to erase.
Yeah,
like
those two things rarely
legal,
go
it's
together.
Moral. If it's illegal, it's immoral.
Yeah.
I don't think speeding is immoral in any way. And I don't think Left Coast Speed thinks it's immoral in any way.
No.
There you go.
I encourage it.
I mean, it's in your name, man. So, all right. So what do we got for number 3, Dominic? What's the third one?
Good neighbors, and you'll get some of the language of maybe the liberty movement here. Good neighbors aligned to voluntary, open-ended interactions. Good citizens aligned to coercive civil authority and imposed hierarchical social order.
Yeah.
There's the word voluntary, but there's also another word term in there that I think is equally important, and that's open-ended. To be a good neighbor is to not be a control freak. And so you have to let things happen. Now, you don't have to let violent things happen. You don't have to let everything happen, but you have to know your limits and know when you've gone too far in trying to run somebody else's life.
Well, let's just go to COVID. During COVID, a certain group of people were very happy to censor any kind of dissenting voices against the narrative, whether it would be Fauci or the jab or this or that. And now we get this new pendulum swing all the way through. Now we've got people censoring us over criticizing a nation state that's illegally aggressing upon its neighbors, and Christians and Catholics alike.
Anti-Semite. How dare you?
I know. Hey, I didn't even say the country, you anti-Semite.
Oh, man.
No, but right, like, once again, you got Mark Levin's and the Ben Shapiro's and everybody now censoring when they were on the other side of it. I mean, listening to Jordan Peterson, how he came to prominence, then talk on Joe Rogan about shouldn't he look at guardrails? I mean, guardrails about free speech. That is what got him to prominence. And now he's the chief, so he doesn't want anyone else. He wants to gatekeep now. And that's the thing I always find is it's the human. We're trying to legislate, or we're trying to control human behavior. People are greedy. People, like, we have human driven things that are just not necessarily non-legislatable, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So
I'll take you back to the 2016 presidential election in the U.S. here for your international viewers, between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And then Trump wins the election, and as he's being inaugurated the following January, you've got all these protests in Washington, D.C. And, people asking me, it's like, well, you're against government. Aren't you on the side of these protesters? And I said quite clearly and over again, these people are not protesting government. These people worship government. They are throwing a fit because a disfavored person became high priest.
Yep.
No kings except my king. Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what we just had.
Yep. And you see, and that's why developing a genuine principle of neighborliness is important. Because if you're only against the imposed hierarchy because you're on the bottom, what happens, like you're saying, if you move up that hierarchy? Now suddenly you
get captured. You get more captured. You get more pigeonholed, because at the top you are very much in a box. I mean, you're not going to.
You're the person who can inflict. And
it's the take my ball and go home mentality. When it doesn't go my way, I'm just going to take my ball and go home. Yep. And so you're not saying, like to Dominic's point, you're not saying that I don't agree with this system and I'm protesting the system. You're saying the system didn't work for me, and what I wanted out of the system I didn't get, and so now I'm going to throw a fit about it. And I'm all for everybody's right to protest. To me, it's a complete waste of time, because obviously they don't ever change anything. But yeah, I'm right there with you. Like those people protesting are protesting for the wrong reason. So I could see why you wouldn't be on their side, so to speak.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So this is a perfect time. Let me introduce this. I'm just going to pull up this clip because we're going to pull it up anyway. But basically, there used to be a guy on Fox News. He was super popular, and then they fired him, and then he became bigger than ever. Right? Some jamoke replaced him. He's got a Philadelphia accent, and it just bothers me. But this is exactly what you're talking about. So you've got Tucker Carlson leaving, right? That leaves a hole for the next hierarchy, because he's going to move up now into Tucker's time slot. So you talk about having to get pigeonholed. Listen to this guy sell what he's selling and how he's going to sell it.
Okay. Based on the request of Pakistan and other countries, we have mutually agreed that while the blockade will remain in full force and effect, Project Freedom will be paused for a short period of time to see whether or not the agreement can be finalized and signed. We suspect the president is letting the Iranians save face. The enemy just yesterday said they controlled the strait. That was obviously a lie. And watching the Americans escort ship after ship out of the Gulf and them not being able to do anything about that was going to be humiliating. Not only were they going to lose whatever military prestige they had left in the region, their negotiators weren't going to be able to fight for their position after they lost their last bargaining chip. The commander-in-chief must believe that the Iranians are serious about surrendering if he's going to pause Project Freedom for the sake of a deal. Because you could also continue Project Freedom during the negotiations. You do want to get these foreign ships moving. The president must know what he's doing. And we're about to find out how insane in the brain the regime really is.
Wow. I mean, just think, if he wasn't on TV, he'd be a military strategist.
I mean, imagine telling yourself that Donald Trump is offering the grace for the people he just told he was going to eliminate off the face of the earth, for them to save face somehow. Just how does that guy sleep at night? How does he not have a drinking problem? How does he not how do you cope with stuff like this? Is exactly what we're talking about. This is this guy is one of the greatest citizens of all time. Sure. And I would never want him next to my house.
Sure. I wrote an article that was published just today on my Substack. I publish every Wednesday. The title is Jesus, Afro Man, and the Art of the Diss Track.
I saw that title.
And the last line of it is, I'll just get it exactly here. I'd much rather have Afro Man as my neighbor than those Adams County sheriff's officers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pontius Pilate put him on the cross and hung. I'm just kidding.
No, back to that clip you showed, Mark, too. I'm sure Jesse Waters is not this dumb, but also there's this, 60 days before the Congress has to vote to continue hostilities. So the pause on the operation and ceasing the operation might have something to do with the fact that we don't want Congress to vote on this, possibly. But no, it's because he wants to give the Iranians a chance to save face, because they're trying really hard to look good here, and we're going to get all the uranium. And it's the Occam's razor. It's the simplest thing. The simplest thing is he needs an out. He needs to pause this to start the next one, and the next operation is going to be called something else, and then that's another 60-day renewal or whatever that time period is. Can't talk about that though, because that would make too much sense.
The audacity to call anything government related Project Freedom.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny that he put a pause on Project Freedom, and we're like, we know you put a pause.
We're living it there, friend.
Yeah, we're living it pretty hard. And that is the craziest thing. We're just, man, it's so frustrating. Just the propaganda. And once again, to your point, we got to sell it. So, all right, Derek. So we've got a couple more points. What's point number 4 on the list?
Good neighbors insource their ethics. Charity and friendship are the key virtues of their relationships. Good citizens outsource their ethics. Compliance with the commands of rulers and enforcers is a fundamental and necessary aspect. Some might call it a civic virtue.
How many cop stops have you seen at the end? The judge, all the commentators, if they would just complied, if they would have just done what the other person in a different color uniform who happens to match other uniforms, if they just would have done what that person told them, because 100% they're in the right all the time, just because of that, to your point, the authority. If they just would have done it, they wouldn't be in felony prison attacking an officer because they tried to tase them for no reason or something. I'm not some pinko lefty softy. You do bad stuff, you should be penalized for it. But I think every citizen should be armed, and we take care of it. But that's a whole other thing. But still, to your point, like, what is up with this once again, the appeal to authority, to your point, right? Just go along with it, and everything would be fine.
Yeah, it's an outsourcing of ethics. Virtues, to be actual virtues, have to be insourced. That's why obedience is a fake virtue. I mean, it might be advantageous. It might have great benefits to you depending on whom you're obeying. But, obedience is an outsourcing of ethics. And
that's a great point.
I wrote in an article a couple of years ago, St. Joseph and the virtue of disobedience, that in a world of competing influences, every act of obedience is also an act of disobedience, because you have competing influences. So it's not the obedience that makes something virtuous. It's the substance of what you're doing, not which other person and the title of that person who likes or dislikes what you did.
We can go back to COVID on that. There were a bunch of proponents who lost everything. Mm-hmm. And they took the side of right. They took the right side of the argument, and they got lambasted for years. And they're just, starting to come back now. But they stuck with it because to them, the virtue that's the virtue, right? To your point, versus the statism of going along with what everyone else tells you to. And
all the people who changed their minds as long as it's allowed. I spoke to a gentleman who's a fantastic investigative reporter. He's been doing a lot of stuff with the Epstein client list and everything related to Jeffrey Epstein. His name is Johnny Vedmore. And he talked about how years ago he would bring up all these problems with people who associate with Jeffrey Epstein, the things they're doing, the things they're engaged in, and the people in his community would write him off as some freak. Well, then a few months ago, some of the Epstein files get released, and now these same people have been given permission to think that the Epstein files may have something and that Epstein may have been a bad guy, and the people associating with Epstein may have been doing bad things when they did it. And suddenly these same people in his community are now reacting to him so differently. It's not that his reporting changed. It's not that the information he presented changed. It's that these people didn't even, in all of these cases, go through the process themselves of saying, okay, this was new to me, but now it's not new to me. It was as simple as a switch got flipped, and that switch was an outsourced authority figure. I've been given permission to condemn this, so now I will condemn it.
I would add too that back to the neighbor and citizen comparisons, you're as a neighbor, your values are fairly unwavering. Like you might learn new information and you might, but you're generally your house and your household and your approach to that is pretty much going to stay the same. As a citizen, if you don't change with whatever the new narrative, you're not the NPC that switches the chip out and goes along with what the new thing is now. Okay, now we're for the war. Now high gas prices are good. Build the ballroom. If you're not going along with that, then you're not a good citizen. And you constantly have to be following the moving target, back to the hierarchy part again. Otherwise, you're judged and graded and viewed based on how you react to those things, where in your neighborhood, that's not the case.
Yeah, from build the wall to build the ballroom.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to think now in order to be in the good graces of these people I consider to be authority figures, that I consider to be so great?
Correct.
So yes,
yeah, absolutely.
The neighbor, because you're insourcing your ethics. Yes, a great way to describe it, Jake. You're constantly getting new information, and if new information means that you arrive at a different conclusion than you had previously, okay, great. But it's because you've done the work.
Correct.
Of grappling with the information and deciding, okay, there is something here now that should alter my conclusion. But if you have the right principles, you shouldn't be altering your principles.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the neighborly way to be, because you've insourced your ethics.
And to be a good citizen, you've got to compromise your principles.
You do, or you fudge it so that your principle is do what you're told. Authority becomes a principle. Like might makes right becomes a principle. It's not that the people who disagree with me lack some sort of underlying narrative. They have one. I just disagree with it. And I think the narrative I have that I'm trying to promote, good neighborliness, I think it's more consistently and coherently humane.
Yeah, when you talk about it, like charity is a great example. It's like how many people are like, no, you need to get taxed so we can give to the poor and we can do we can address how the houselessness or something. You're homeless. Like, what's this housing crisis? It's like that's not what this is. Unaffordability and all this bullshit that they throw at us. Why is this shit unaffordable, right? Because you stole from us. You devalued our dollar to freaking give it and spread it out, man. That's theft. Straight up theft. And we should be charitable, but charity is next door because we're here to help, because we're in this together, not because we need a third person to tell others that their money should be taken to be given to another person that they don't even know. And that makes them feel good that the rich aren't paying their fair share. No, the answer to taxes are crazy is no one should pay taxes. That's the answer. The answer isn't everyone should pay their fair share. You're already corrupted. You're already captured you're already the best citizen in the world if that's how you perceive that first thing. And once you break it, once these little things chip away, everything looks the same. It's all like the Matrix code. You
Yeah,
see,
right.
the
Talking
heirs of
about your
tyranny
boy,
is gonna.
you talking about your boy Cenk Uygur?
Oh God, I'm not. Do all right. Let's do it. Can we? Do you know who Jan Cougar is, Dominic?
I have
He used to be on the Young Turks.
Yeah.
He's,
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
he's still is.
on the sort of a reclamation tour.
Yeah. He. Okay. So the blind
Sometimes,
fucking squirrel can
Dominic,
find a nut.
sometimes I have to wind Mark up and then just let
Yeah,
him
and
go.
they just let me go, and then I just go
Very
off
good.
on a tangent. So, no, go ahead, Dominic, please.
I was just going to say I'm going to take a sip while you get into story time. By the way, if by whiskey you mean Fireball, I'm drinking whiskey.
There we go.
Yes, that you actually understand, and most people just think we get drunk or something. So, Cenk Uygur has kind of been on a redemption tour. Now, Cenk Uygur's just been anti-war, but he's for like 90% of the social programs I can think of. Okay, so okay, we're anti-war, great. We're in one fucking camp together. But don't give me this compromise of the rest. Don't give me, we got to just start this one thing. Watching he and Sean Ryan talk was like scraping my skin. It was the shallowest level. Did you get that sense, Jake? Like they're talking about the serious issues at the most basic mouth breathing, knuckle dragging levels?
I did. Here's the sense that I got. I finished it earlier before we did the show. And I don't mean to give Sean too much credit. I honestly think Sean was kind of being deferential since Cenk was on his show. And I don't think he wanted to have too much of a, because he did say quite a few times, like, yeah, we disagree on quite a bit of things, but
yeah,
I'm glad we can have this conversation. So in the game
of that,
of the friendly back and forth through disagreement, I thought it was great. The water was like a kiddie pool. Like they didn't go deep on anything.
And that's the thing is, like, you would think that they could go deep at least on the stuff they agree, but they can't even do that. So here's my greatest question.
I think Sean was being a little more deferential. I don't think they agreed on much other than people need to have more conversations when they disagree. And I think that was about the extent of their give and take.
Right. So the one way crazy one I got, did he name drop that he went to Wharton? Is he actually a Wharton graduate?
I didn't hear that part. I missed it.
Okay, I thought he said he went to Wharton school. I'm like, okay, great. And he says when people get monopolies by removing regulations. And I'm like, dude, that's literally the opposite of what it is. The monopolies create regulations through the government. So he talks about this whole crony capitalism, but then he goes, I'm a democratic capitalist. That's not a fucking thing, Cenk.
No,
I'm sorry. Wait, you want capitalism or the government to not allow monopolies to exist? Well, that's what we did in the 1900s and 1913. How did that work out for us? How did that work out, Cenk? Literally created the system that we're in. So, like, I hope to hunt him down at Freedom Fest, man. I will James Lindsay his little tuchus better than you can imagine. I'm on fire because he's so ignorant.
Cenk, you're a guest. Come on the show.
Cenk, you are nonviolent. Okay, great. I agree. We're nonviolent. The three of us don't like taxes, right? We think taxes are theft. Cenk, what kind of programs would you like? Oh, you think national health care is a human right? So someone else's labor. Okay, sure. So how are you going to pay for that? Oh, you're going to get taxed. So who's going to pay the taxes? Oh, you want us to pay the taxes. So I think it's theft. So now that I think it's theft, I refuse for you to steal my money. What's your next move, Chief? Are you going to go violent? Or are you going to just sit there and go, oh, I guess Mark doesn't want to pay his share, so I guess we'll go to the next door and ask kindly? That's not how it works, buddy.
Did you see his comment? Like his comment about billionaires and the tax? He says, so say someone makes $1 million a year, right? He goes, and we just want to tax that 5% more. He goes, so they still have $950,000. They're not even going to miss that. And I'm thinking, right? Who are you to decide just because someone has been more successful that you're going to punish them and go, well, you're not going to miss it because you don't need it? Like, what flaming chariot on high do you come down from to make the decision of who gets to keep what they earned?
I'm making the bold prediction that Anna Kasparian and Cenk will fall from the heavens the second the Democrats get power again and they expose their stupid shit. They are so goddamn ignorant because they don't understand the concepts of what humanity is. The three of us, like, as I don't want to say libertarian, but just like as we've experienced and we start introspectively looking at ourselves and our accountability and responsibility to ourselves and others, we understand what it takes and that it does not take an external force to get what we need. It needs us internally, each other, interactively. And it's so silly that we're agreed on neighbors. Now we're going to be on the same team. I'm not voting for anyone, let alone someone you're going to vote for just because one fucking, I don't know. I'm not, I'll mute. I'll mute.
I had to wind him up. Sorry. I had to. No, I mean,
that's a good wind up. I like that. Are you guys familiar with the old Joseph Sabran matrix of what he at the time called conservatives, liberals, moderates, and extremists?
Not enough to talk on it. I've seen it, but
share
not enough.
Share
really
yeah,
simple.
Share that concept.
If you want government to intervene domestically, you're a liberal. If you want government to intervene overseas, you're a conservative. If you want government to intervene everywhere, you're a moderate. If you don't want government to intervene anywhere, you're an extremist. Gentlemen, I'm an extremist.
Yeah.
And the people I have nothing in common with are the moderates.
Yeah, by those definitions, I'm in the same boat. I mean, I want every subsidy when Spirit Airlines couldn't survive, I feel bad for the people who lost their jobs, but I was like, that's how it's supposed to go. Shut it down. I want zero subsidies.
JetBlue was going to buy them, and the Biden administration stopped it.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny though. I mean, there is context to that too. Once they were going to buy them, I think they were going to cut 40% of the routes too. So there was a reorg that was going to happen or something. So part of the rebuying. Now, once again, I'm not saying that the government should interfere. They shouldn't interfere at all. They shouldn't interfere in any of this. But considering they do anyway, there was another thought to that. I just disagree with all of it wholeheartedly, to your point.
Yeah, exactly. I disagree with the imposition, with the intrusion, with the I know better. C.S. Lewis called it moral busybodies. And I think that underlies everything in government is the idea that people think they're doing the right thing. They think they really know better what other people should be doing.
How much simpler can it be? I mean, it's such a simple concept. Don't hurt people. Don't take their stuff. Leave me be. Yep. I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, so we got a few more minutes before we call it. Dominic, did you have any, Jake, any other topics or anything else you want to bring up? Don't ever bring up Cenk Uygur again, you bastard. No, I'm just kidding.
Did we get through all five of Dominic's?
What
the
gets
last
me
one is really short.
Cenk is getting paid. Hold on. Cenk is getting paid to go to Freedom Fest, Jake. By the way, whiskey 100, $100 off.
That just
freedomfest.com.
That just shows if you have
Jake Cenk is getting paid to give us crap, and we are paying to tell him that he's wrong, and actually we're more correct. This is what frustrates me. But anyway, go ahead, Dominic. I'm
Good neighbors consent. Good citizens conform.
Wait, say that one again.
Good neighbors consent. Good citizens conform.
Oh, hell yeah. Put that on a bumper sticker or a t-shirt.
That is a bumper
it would fit
sticker
too.
Right there. It's a t-shirt for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah,
absolutely.
Jake, any thought? Yeah. I mean, look, once again, let's go back. Informed consent for COVID and all the other stuff and all the things we've been going through, right?
So I wrote an article recently, kind of recently, called "The Means Justify the Ends," and it was a conversion of the ends justify the means. Because as a neighbor, you never say the ends justify the means, because then you're giving yourself permission to do all sorts of terrible stuff, as long as you say to yourself and can maybe convince others as well, I have a good goal in mind eventually.
Unless it's something against the HOA.
Right. Yeah, HOAs, hey, you know.
I had to, I'm sorry.
It is a microcosm of utter tyranny. It is literally a microcosm of utter tyranny. You have got a looky-loo in a corner house, constantly staring at her drapes, wanting to run that freaking neighborhood through her twisted, filtered perspective.
It's a mindset. It's a citizen mindset where everybody else falls in line. If I can get some some power, great. And of course, I will use it well. Everybody becomes Eric Cartman in South Park, oh, I have authority. Suddenly he's, beating people with the billy club and things. Yeah, that's what happens. So it really is a mindset. You need to cultivate in yourself a sense of humane ethics, a sense of what I would call natural human rights, which are valid. A right is a valid claim. 2 + 3 = 5. That's right. What does that mean? It means it's a valid claim. Based on the definition of 2, 3, 5 plus an equals, that is a valid claim. It can be demonstrated. When we talk about rights in a human rights sense, it's the same thing. It's a valid claim. So what are the valid claims that people can make pre-politically simply by virtue of being human? And it's, you can make a claim to your own life, you can make a claim to your intentional actions, and you can make a claim to your duly obtained and cultivated property. And so if you can get yourself to respect that and to realize that it comes from an understanding of human dignity, that there's an authority of personhood that every person has. If you can discover that and learn it and practice it and really make that how you exist in the world, then you're going to be on your way to being the good neighbor. And you're also going to find, as my book is about, you're going to find you're in conflict with all of the good citizens. You brought up, Mark, the book about the Germans who just followed orders during World War II.
Yeah. Once again, it's called Ordinary Men. And I can't remember who wrote it. I could probably Google it.
My book is laid out like the traditional stations of the cross. So in station 12 is when Jesus dies on the cross. I'll just read you this here. Good cops kill Jesus. Not bad cops, not rogue cops, not corrupt cops. Good cops. The ones who obey orders and follow their training and protocols. The ones who care about their communities and keep the streets safe and secure. The ones who are just doing their jobs and trying to go home to their families. Hey, they don't make the rules, they just enforce them. Stop resisting. Good cops kill Jesus.
That's dead on.
That's a good place to call it right there.
That's where we got to stop it. That's just absolutely great. Jake, do you have a final thought on that? I mean, it's just so powerful.
No, I mean, like I said at the top of the show, I didn't look at things from this perspective. And I'm really grateful, first off, that Dominic, you took the time to come on, but second, that you've made these connections and that there's a way to kind of bridge those two together, or bridge that gap, I should say, for people who are both looking at it from a theological point of view and then looking at the more freedom point of view, and to be able to kind of marry those together takes a special talent to write that. And I commend you for doing it, because like I said, it created a whole new perspective for me to look at it.
Thank you. Thank you. The book is under 10,000 words. You'll read it in 45 minutes.
Love it. Well, I look forward to it. Once again, Good Neighbor, Bad Citizen, Dominic Scarcella.
You got it.
Sir, thank you again for joining us. This really was great. And it really just speaks to, it's, we talk about, this is the last thing we probably should leave on, is like, if your sensitivities or sensibilities are so great that you require an external force to remove those sensibilities from someone else, then you're not correct. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're just wrong. Don't give anyone else any power. No power. This is how it works. Literal. And Dominic, I do want to talk one time. Hopefully, I'm going to tease on this, because I do think the last point you made is great, but I'm going to marinate on this. No kings, Christ is king. I don't understand those two things working within a libertarian's mind, because like we talk about the no kings thing, because like anarchy is literally no rulers, Christ is king. It really, I think it's more of an internal thing, but I think it's a whole other podcast in its own. So
it can be, and
thank you.
I will have that conversation if you'd like.
Let's do it. So Jake, thanks again. Any final thoughts, Jake, before you go?
No, I have no more thoughts.
All right. Well, what is the last one about conforming and consenting? Give me that last one, Dominic, before we call it. We're going to clip that.
Good neighbors consent. Good citizens conform.
I think that's beautiful. Thank you, everyone. This has been another If by Whiskey. We have one more huge If by Whiskey. Jake, who's the guest next week, man?
Natalie Morris.
Final. Natalie Morris redacted, man. This is going to be so excellent. So I am super excited. Thank you, everyone, for another If by Whiskey. And Jake, screw you for bringing up Cenk Uygur, man. I was trying to avoid him, and then you twisted the knife. So everyone, have a great night. I love you too. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this Wednesday night. This has been If by Whiskey, and we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
Subscribe to If by Whiskey. Fuck Liberty Lockdown. Subscribe to this show.